Mic test. Mic test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pepper. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Julian Northbrook, and this is Doing English. This morning, I got a rather spiffing question in my inbox from one of my extraordinary English speakers members, and being a rather spiffing question, I thought I would answer it here on this YouTube channel. When to use hard words, he asked. That is, when should you use these difficult, hard, complicated, often quite rare, but somewhat intelligent sounding items of vocabulary? This is a good question, and the answer to this is relatively simple. You should use them when it is appropriate and beneficial to do so, and that is it. Look, this is not a criticism of my member or indeed anybody watching this, but there is a good chance that you make this mistake because many people do. And if you do make this mistake, you're going to want to shift your conversational, communicative mindset somewhat, because it's really going to help you to sound and speak English a lot better in day-to-day conversation, giving presentations, meetings, delivering an idea, in any kind of situation you can imagine, and not just spoken, either written as well, because it's all exactly the same. The big mistake that people make is that when they are having these conversations or in these spoken situations, they are way too concerned about themselves, about the words that they want to use, about how they want people to perceive them and think of them. And look, this is important. It is important to consider how people perceive you when you speak, because you do want to come across as being an intelligent, a suave, sophisticated, smooth speaker of the English language. Yes, I get that. And it is important. But you want to be perceived as being a suave, smooth, intelligent, sophisticated speaker of English based on what you are saying and the effectiveness and brevity of how you are delivering it to the person that you are speaking to. Put simply, in conversation or in, again, any kind of communicative situation, writing as well, it's all the same. You should be thinking first and foremost, not about you. You should be thinking about your audience, them, the person you are speaking to. And you should always be asking yourself, what is the best, most concise, most effective way to communicate the message that I want to communicate to this person? And what are the words, the phrases and expressions that I should select in order to do that in, again, the most effective, concise way possible? Here's a great example of this. Two sentences that mean exactly the same thing and are sentences that I have used in real-world communicative situations to communicate, again, exactly the same thing to two very different audiences in very different contexts. Example 1. Chunks help people to speak fluently and naturally in conversation. Yeah, pretty simple, easy to understand. This comes directly from one of my YouTube videos explaining to you guys why focusing on chunks rather than words and rules is beneficial for fluency and naturalness. Second example, formulaic sequences contribute to fluent and accurate language use that facilitates real-time communication for interlocutors by reducing demands on working memory. Again, it means exactly the same thing. This latter example comes directly from one of my published research papers, and it is phrased in this way because being an academic research article, it needs to be written in a certain style and in a very, very precise way. I wouldn't, however, say this in conversation, not even with, say, for example, my PhD supervisor or another academic in my field. Sure, they would understand the individual parts, but it's not necessary. It adds nothing to my communication. It has no benefit to the conversation whatsoever. This said, I probably wouldn't use the same sentence with my PhD supervisor again, for example, or another academic as I would with you guys. I probably wouldn't say chunk to my PhD supervisor because the word chunk, although simple and easy for somebody like you to understand, is actually not really precise enough for the kind of conversations we have. Speaking with somebody like that, I would probably say formulaic sequence or lexical bundle, depending on the type of chunk that I'm talking about, because again, these are far more precise and communicate a much more specific meaning, and that is necessary for that kind of conversation, whereas it's not necessary for explaining to you guys why you should be focusing on chunks. That said, I probably wouldn't use a word like interlocutor, meaning people in dialogue or communicative situations, even though it is more precise. It's just not beneficial. It just doesn't add anything to the conversation. Sure, it would be appropriate. It would be readily understood by academics, but you know, again, it doesn't really add anything to the conversation. I might as well just say people talking. It's exactly the same. It doesn't communicate anything extra that we need. So I wouldn't use it. Again, the point is, when it comes to communicating and having conversations and speaking or delivering some kind of spoken speech message to people, you should always be thinking about them and what is going to be the most effective way to communicate your message to them. Sure, you might get a buzz from using big, difficult, pompous, complicated lexis and jargon and vocabulary and words and stuff in your speech when you're talking to someone. It might make you feel clever and intelligent and sophisticated, but to other people, you just look like a bit of a twat, because it's like, well, here's this guy. There's absolutely no reason for him to be using these really difficult, complicated, rare words. Is he trying to make himself look better than us, or what? I haven't got a fucking clue what he's talking about either. It's not necessary. Just cut it out. If you are the kind of person who wants to learn these big, hard, difficult, complicated, erudite words and pepper your conversations with them, regardless of whether people have a clue what you're talking about or not, then neither can I help you nor do I want to, because I ain't into that stuff. However, if you want to learn to speak English in a suave, sophisticated, flexible way, you are going to want to check out my book, Master English Fast, An Uncommon Guide to Speaking Extraordinary English. This book will show you step by simple step how to master the English language as an intermediate to advanced English learner and speak English in conversation or whatever situation it is that you speak English in a way that makes people go, wow, I really get what he's saying. He's so good at English. It comes as a paperback version, a Kindle version. You can read the first chapter for free, and regardless of how you get it, it comes complete with a full audio version for your listening enjoyment. Link in the description, or head over to masterenglishfast.com. Total digression, but we are well and truly into the rainy season here in Tokyo now. And dear God, bloody hell me, it is so muggy and humid and sweaty, and it's making my forehead shine. It's horrible. Before I go, handing the baton over to you. Have you ever had a conversation with this kind of person who loves to slip these difficult, complicated words into their speech, regardless of whether it's appropriate or not? If you have, how did you feel in that situation? Did you think that they just looked a bit silly by trying to make themselves look better than everybody else, or were you fine with it? Tell us all about it in the comments. I would love to read your stories, and I'm sure other people would as well. This is me, Julian Northbrook, signing off from another exciting video. I'll see you the same time, same place, tomorrow for the next installment of what? I really need to come up with a name for this, these daily YouTube videos, don't I? Something cool that sounds good and appealing and is easy to say at the end of these videos. The next exciting installment of the Julian Northbrook Show. Yeah, why not? See you tomorrow. before I head off to do some more writing, because I've got a ton of it to get done. Have you ever wondered what the best materials are for you, the English as a second language learner, to learn conversational, suave, smooth, sophisticated, communicative English? If you have, check this video where I answer that question in some detail. And if you're not too sure how to go about practicing your spoken English all by yourself, check this video for that. Bit of dust.